public psychiatric hospitals in the whole of Yemen. This was horrific. There's people in chains walking around. These guys are getting given their tranquilizers for the day to control them. Really just feels like this is a prison. It's not a hospital.
So basically, the mentally ill are chained, tranquilized, and abandoned. And I'm not going to speak about that. What I'm going to speak about is the issues in the Middle East, the Muslim world, as we call it, which is a part of Asia technically. So I'd rather call it Asia because that's where the Middle East is. Now you got one major conflict: Iran versus Saudi Arabia. There's a conflict between them two, just like there used to be a conflict between Russia and America over influence. On paper, you might say it's a religious conflict. Iran, they represent Shia. Shia Islam was created in Iran by it wasn't supposed to be created. You got to understand. Iran, people from Iran are not Arab; they're Persian. A lot of people have they have this misconception that everybody who's Muslim and brown are Arab. That's not the case. There are Arabs in the Middle East, in Asia, but you've got Persians, people from Turkey. They're not Arab; they're Turkish. That's its own ethnic group. Turkish people are also in Turkmenistan, which is a country. Now, what I want to speak about is how Saudi Arabia and Iran, their battle for dominance over Islam and regional politics and influence causes these smaller countries to basically be collateral damage. What happens is this: America has a great relationship with Saudi Arabia. Why? I can't tell you why. I think it's just because it's always been that way. Ever since the Saudi kingdom was first invented, the first king of Saudi Arabia had a great relationship with America. The Saudis didn't even know that they had oil back then. America sent resources for them to map out their land and determine where the oil was, how much oil there was, and how to get to the oil. So the Saudis have always had this reciprocal symbiotic relationship with America. America gives them weapons and funds to make sure that they have a good military, good defense, and we in exchange get rights to oil, and we have a business relationship. It's not really one-sided. The Saudis own a lot of land, office complexes. The apartment that you live in is probably owned by the Saudis because they invest in apartments and stuff like that with their sovereign fund. The sovereign fund is investments that they use to take care of the kingdom. That way they don't just depend on oil for their money. And if they ever need money, they can go into the sovereign fund. So the sovereign fund investments all over the place. There's a place where I'm at right now that is owned by the Saudis, but they don't work there themselves. They invest, and the people of that area work there. But you got to understand that in the 7th century, Islam went and they took over these various places in Asia, in the Middle East, the Arab world. They spread Islam to Iran. Iran, they didn't believe in Islam. They were Zoroastrians. They've had their own religion. But they were subjugated by the Arabs. And the Arabs would institute a policy of Arabization, which means they took over these people and they're going to make them Arab and they're going to make them Islamic. They're Islamicized and Arabized. Iran has always been a respectable empire of their own. They've been around since ancient Greece. They used to go to war with ancient Greece, remember? 300, Xerxes and all of that. They were the Persians. So they're not Arab, they're Persian. They've got their own history. They're a proud people. So even though they were Arabized and Islamicized and their own personal, independent, individual culture and religion had become Arabized, they still maintained being Iranian, Persian. And they were outspoken because they were a great people. So they created Shia Islam. So even though they were subjugated by the Arabs, they created their own version of Islam because people in Iran have their own history. They're proud people, and they're not going to let Arabs take over their whole culture. They're going to do their own thing. So they created a unique version of Islam that was exclusively Persian, and it's called Shia. So Shia and Sunni. Then you've got Wahhabism, which is a very extreme form of Sunni Islam. And you got to understand, in Saudi Arabia, there was a deal between the monarchy and the Wahhabis. The Wahhabism is a very extreme form of Islam. Very extreme, almost to the point where it's like it's very extreme. But Saudi Arabia is a religious country, so in order to keep the religious people happy, because they don't like capitalism. They don't like the idea that Saudi Arabia is friends with America. So what happens is they created a deal with Wahhabis. From day one, they had a deal with the Wahhabis. We run the capitalism side. You can run the religious side. We're going to give you just as much authority as we have. That way we can placate all the religious people. And when people call Saudi Arabia's Muslim integrity into question, we can say, well, we got the Wahhabis. They got all the power. They run everything. We don't even interfere in religious matters. That's their thing. We make money. They deal with the religion. So that kept everybody happy. But you got to understand, Sunni, Shia. Sunni, let's say Iraq, Saddam Hussein, he might have beef depending on which brand of Islam he subscribes to. If somebody opposes that, they might be a Shia, Sunni, whatever, he's going to treat them bad, and he's going to treat the people who are a part of his branch of Islam good. So it gets to a point where there's a influence battle. The Sunnis, the Saudis feel like they got to fight for the Sunni world. The Iranians feel like they got to fight for the Shia world. So if you're a Shia country, Iran is going to protect you. They're going to give you weapons. They're going to help you financially, just like they do with Hamas. You understand? They're going to help you. And if you're Sunni, Saudi Arabia is going to help you. They're going to give you money. They're going to help you, blah, blah, blah. And that's the conflict. Either you're going to be loyal to Saudi Arabia or Iran. Iran and Saudi Arabia have proxy wars. Shia and Sunnis fighting each other all throughout the Middle East, all throughout Asia, all throughout the Muslim world. They're providing the weapons, the funding. So they're not fighting each other, but they're fighting through proxies. The Iranian Revolution happened in the 70s when Ayatollah Khomeini took over, threw the Shah out. The Shah was friendly with America. He was an American puppet. They got rid of him and they instituted the religious awakening. And they branded themselves the Shia Empire. And from the 70s onward, remember when those students got kidnapped and Ronald Reagan had to get them back? Jimmy Carter, that's why he lost, because he couldn't get the students back. Ayatollah Khomeini changed the whole trajectory of Iran. At the same time, when this was going on, Saudi Arabia's looking over there like, okay, it was fine when we had the Shah who was friendly to America because we're friendly with America. But now that they got this whole Shia thing going on with Ayatollah Khomeini, we got to watch them. And that's when the struggle began. Pakistan, loyal Sunnis. Loyal Sunnis. So America goes to Saudi Arabia and say, hey, we need you to train Osama bin Laden. Okay? He's a Sunni. These guys are Sunnis. You're a Sunni. Pakistan, the whole thing. You know, the war in Afghanistan, Russia took Afghanistan to war. America hates Russia. So we reached out to our Saudi friends and said, hey, since they are Sunnis just like you and you run the Sunni world, take these weapons and training and you pick the group. You pick the group of Sunnis who you think deserves this money and training from America. So Saudi Arabia picked Al-Qaeda. And Al-Qaeda was supported by America initially because Russia had control of Afghanistan. They went to war, whatever. But the bottom line is it's a struggle. It's a cold war between Saudi Arabia and Iran. And all of these other countries are caught in the middle because Iran and Saudi Arabia are the richest countries in that area. Turkey's rich too, but they're not really, they're not trying to spread, I mean, it's just like this, man. Saudi Arabia and Iran hate each other. They have a historic hatred for each other because Arabs versus Persian, that's been going on for a while. And they're subjugating the entire area. The whole area is collateral damage for their tension, their war, their Cold War. And that's the reason why things are in the condition that they're in, because you've got these two rich countries behind the scenes puppeteering everything. Peace.